Hey everyone, welcome to Realization Hub. My name is Michelle Corazao-Dinu and I am a channeler, energy healer, intuitive counselor that loves to bridge the gap between the unseen world of spirit, intuition, consciousness, and energy, and how it applies to your everyday human experience. Today's video is an energy update for November 2021. I'm going to go over the energy dynamics for mass consciousness, those of you going through your awakening, and those of you in your embodied enlightenment. So if you enjoy this content, please like this video, give it a thumbs up, and subscribe to this channel. It really helps me out a lot. Let's go ahead and get started. All right, so let's talk about mass consciousness first. When I was looking at an image for mass consciousness, I was seeing a person that had traveled up a spiral staircase and they were standing at the top looking down. So right off the bat, I can see that mass consciousness is allowing their perception to change in November. And to me, when I look at those like stair steps, those represent like a lot of small shifts in consciousness, a lot of small changes in perception. But over time, and as that person continues up the staircase, they eventually look down and they have an entirely different perspective, an entirely different level of consciousness. So this is what I see for the collective, the mass consciousness. Like throughout the month of November, I see mass consciousness kind of climbing a spiral staircase. There's probably going to be a lot of small shifts in consciousness happening kind of, over and over and over again. And by the end of the month, mass consciousness will have climbed, to a new level of consciousness. So I was kind of tuning into these cards. I was kind of shuffling these tarot cards here. And the first card that came out to help me clarify, what's the shift in consciousness all about was this card. This is the Two of Pentacles. And you can see in this card that this person is juggling two different things. They've got two opposing energies here, kind of pulling them in different directions maybe. And there's kind of a lot of action in this picture. She might be swinging these things back and forth. If you think about mass consciousness and you think about that energy of being pulled in two different directions and having to like make a decision or having to, meet that need of bringing balance to two opposing directions, mass consciousness has been going through quite an opposition over the past few years, especially, where the gap between, perspectives keeps growing and growing and growing. It keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And this division on the planet keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger between like the people that want to keep everything the same and carry out tradition and not change anything. And then the people that absolutely think that change needs to happen and where they want to create something new systems, new ways of living, technology, upgrades, you name it. There are people that just want everything to be new. And so a lot of the shifts happening in November have to do with bringing balance to these two opposing sides. And one of the things that I pulled from this deck here, it doesn't have a name, I found it in Boulder on the street, was igniting courage. This could be people on an individual basis, like finally getting the courage to leave a situation. I just kind of got that example of like an abusive situation. But, the situation doesn't necessarily have to be abusive. It just means that maybe you've been really scattered in your life. Like the individuals, in the collective have felt scattered, like really busy, like being pulled in different directions, having a hard time finding balance. And the reason why they're leaving is to regain balance in their life somehow. and it takes kind of courage. And so I kind of see this, energy of leaving, handling something differently, having the courage to handle something differently. I also get this card, patience. I think this is just an intuitive way of saying, yeah, this isn't all happening at once. Mass consciousness isn't going to find this balance of opposition, where the two different sides are dividing, and the gap between the two sides are, getting bigger, kind of thing. It's not all going to happen in 1 month. We're not going to suddenly be at the end of November, singing Kumbaya and holding hands and enjoying balance between everyone. This card is saying patience. This is going to be a journey of finding balance with this division, but November is kind of like maybe a milestone or just like a pinpoint where a lot of perception changes about this and how to bring balance to the division and the opposing forces here. I kind of get this feeling of like mass consciousness just pushing their luck, like wanting just something amazing to happen, to like solve the problem, to solve the issue, to bring balance to things, and that's not what it's about. Unfortunately, there's not going to be necessarily like a miracle that happens that suddenly brings peace to the whole planet. This is kind of like a journey, and this is, November is a part of that journey where kind of a shift in perception happens over the course of the month. A lot of small shifts in consciousness, which, by the end of the month ends up being a pretty significant difference in how far mass consciousness has come. All right, so I'm going to move on to those of you going through your awakening. All right, we're going to go ahead and get started for those of you going through your awakening. One of the images I got when I was tuning into you was of scooping out ice cream, except the ice cream had like 2 different flavors, like yellow and pink, and instead of scooping out one flavor, you were scooping down the line and getting both flavors. And the first thing that came to me is kind of that balance of having both things be true, both things having more, so there's a couple of different levels that I could probably translate that image to, but one is like an expansion happening in your havingness and your ability to receive. Your ability to receive what you want and how much you want, that there seems to be kind of an expansion of that. Maybe in the past there used to be like, I can only have this or that. And in November, it's like, I can have both, I also see that with your relationships, but I also see that with the way you relate to everything. You can have both. Maybe you experience a dark side to things, like, oh, my health is declining, and that's a dark experience. And at the same time, I'm having a breakthrough in my creativity, and I'm creating a new project, and it's going really well, and both can be happening at once. You can be having something really difficult that you're struggling with at the same time as something really amazing happening. Both can be true. And so I see this happening in your relationship space, just this expansion of what you can receive and what you can have, and how you relate to yourself, how you relate to others, how you relate to energy, how you relate to everything. It just seems that you can have more. It's not just about this way or that way, or is this right or is this wrong? You're having both. Both can be true. Which is interesting because the card that came out was the Chariot. And, the Chariot is kind of an action card. You can see like quite a lot of movement happening in this card. Like this Chariot is going super fast. So there might be a lot of fast expansion for you energetically in November. And you might, even be traveling. You might be making a decision. But you can also see the nature of the black and white that I was talking about. Like, there's two different ways you can go. And, in this image, which way are you going to go? Are you going to go, the dark route or the white route, and, in this image, both are carrying the carriage. Both are carrying the carriage, and this is kind of what I was feeling about you, was that you're not deciding. Like, there's such a seduction in having to decide whether you go this way or that way, but really you can just do both. You can have both. There's something, that you don't actually have to decide. You can move forward with both things. Jeez. There seems to be like a lot of information that you're processing. I see a big bowl of spaghetti in this card when I look at it clairvoyantly. And to me, like, I have this little kind of metaphor that I use when I'm teaching. And, as a teacher, when you're teaching a class filled with people and they're learning something new, I think of it as like holding a bowl of spaghetti, and you're just tossing out spaghetti. You're just tossing out information. Just like tossing out spaghetti, some of it's going to stick. Some of it's going to just, go over their heads, fly past their ear, fall on the ground. The whole point is they're not going to get the whole bowl of spaghetti. They're just going to get some of it. And that's okay, right? And I'm kind of seeing this bowl of spaghetti analogy or metaphor here in this card for you. There's a lot of information at your disposal to use to help you move forward in your life. And, some of it might be sticking. Some of it might be falling away. And you don't want to fret about that. The information that falls away wasn't really meant for you anyways. So you might be getting a lot of information from like a mentor or a teacher or a guardian or, someone important in your life. And maybe some of it sticks, maybe some of it falls away, and you don't want to let that bother you. The information that sticks with you is the information for you. The information that falls away and doesn't stick might not necessarily be for you. So maybe some of this confusion of, how to see things or which way to go or how to handle something, was based on all the information you have that comes from a lot of different sources. And really, in November, you're coming to your information, and really when I look at your information, it seems like you can have more than one truth, more than one experience, more than one layer of experience, and so I really kind of see you moving forward, and maybe the things that don't come with you, you just let them go, You might just, it does look like you're taking a lot of action in November. So, maybe you're moving forward on a decision, on a pathway. Both are true, like both experiences are true. Maybe it's a good experience, maybe it's a bad experience. Both can be true. But, it's just like that bowl of spaghetti. As you move forward in that experience, some things might not stick. Some things might fall away in November, and you don't want to freak out about that. You don't want to take that as you being a failure, especially in your relationships. You just want to take that as, all right, I'm moving forward, and this is what's coming with me. This is what's meant for me, and the rest I can leave behind. It's not coming with me. So I'm going to go ahead and pull another card. I'm going to pull a dragon card. Oh, that one flew. Okay. All right, so the card that came out was the strawberry dragon, which means celebration. All right. Celebration. And this was coming out to kind of clarify this card here, this Chariot. So this change in direction that you're going in, this moving forward in your life, you can celebrate it. Maybe there's some mixed bag of experiences that go with it, but you can really celebrate it. Something about it is pretty sweet. Yeah, even in this card, there's a bumblebee, on the flower, and bumblebees are all about the sweetness of life, and so whatever change in direction that you're taking, even if it's a mixed bag of good and bad feelings, or you're not taking everything with you as you go in this new direction, like, it's definitely sweet. There's something to celebrate about this change in direction, or moving ahead, or moving forward, or something, So when I look at this card clairvoyantly, kind of reminds me of something emerging in your life that's bigger than what you originally wanted. It's kind of like if you were like carrying a bunch of small balloons, and you're like, I'm happy, I've got all these balloons, and I'm, just gonna move forward with my life and be happy with these little balloons. And then suddenly this big balloon emerges, and you're like, oh, that's a better balloon. That's a big balloon. I'm gonna take that balloon, and I'm gonna keep walking forward with this balloon now. This is so much bigger than I thought it would be, So there's something kind of bigger that's emerging for you in November, and it's something to celebrate. It kind of, I can say it emerges. It's not something that's hiding. It's not something that you find. It's something that just kind of emerges into your life that, takes you in a new direction, and it's something to celebrate. So it's good. One more card for you. I'm going to go ahead and pull a mermaid card from the mermaid deck. Okay. So the card I get for you is consult an expert. More information is needed. Contact someone with expertise in this area. All right. So this might be a situation, this change in direction, this might be a situation where you need to reach out for some type of support. It could be emotional support, relationship support, legal support, where you need to learn a new skill set, where you need to, reach out to an expert and talk to them. Whenever I've pulled this card for myself, it's kind of like, one time I was going through an immigration process, and instead of just trying to figure it all out by myself, I hired a lawyer. Said, screw it, I'm going to save myself so much, mental and emotional and physical labor if I just hire an expert to do this for me. Like, I know lots of people do this on their own, but screw it. I've got other things to worry about. I'm going to pay someone to do this for me, and I'm so glad I did. I may have spent money, but I saved a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of emotional and mental stress just by hiring an expert who knows exactly what to do, when to do it, what to expect, how to prep, things like that. So when this card comes up, it's kind of saying, hey, this is bigger than you. You know, I was just seeing that image of something bigger emerging. You know, there's something bigger emerging for you. You might want to reach out for some help about it. You know, like if you're running a business, you know, maybe suddenly you have a lot more money coming in and you need to hire an accountant or a bookkeeper, or, you know, maybe you suddenly like have to go someplace. You have to just leave and travel for some reason, and you have to hire someone to take care of your house or do the job for you or whatever, you know. So there's so many different reasons why you might need to reach out for help, but this is kind of giving you a heads up, like, hey, when something bigger emerges and the energy starts moving and you end up going in a different direction, definitely ask yourself the question, like, how could I support myself in this situation? Who could I ask to support me? Like, is there an advisor, a mentor, a professional, an expert? Is there someone out there that I can reach out to that can help me with this? This person that can help you, or, you know, this energy of receiving help, it's not like they're doing it for you. They're not making it happen. They're not making decisions for you. It's kind of like a backseat driver. You know, they're giving you feedback about a direction that you're going in. Like, well, if you go in this direction, this is what you can expect, and this might be what happens, and blah, 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 you know? So it's a little bit like a backseat driver. You're still in the driver's seat. You're still making the decisions. You're still navigating your life. You're still doing it. But, you know, this help that can, you know, be like an expert is kind of like a backseat driver, you know, not in an annoying way, but just there to reassure you, like, whoa, you might want to watch that coming ahead, or I see that too. You can take a left here, you know, just things like that. So overall, I can sense that you're having an expansion in your havingness. You're about to receive something bigger. It's going to take you in a new direction. You're going to be able to have more. You're going to be able to have multiple truths. It might be a mixed bag of experience, but both are okay. Something bigger is emerging. You might need to reach out for some extra support to help you in this new direction. And it's ultimately something to celebrate. It's good. It's sweet. So this is good news. Happy November to you, for those of you going through awakening. That's a pretty awesome message. All right. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. I'm going to move on with those of you going through your embodied enlightenment. Hello, hello. For those of you going through your embodied enlightenment, I'm going to go ahead and get started with the energy dynamics happening for you in November 2021. The first image that I got was of you on like a really small sailboat, kind of in the bay or in a harbor. And there was like a group of people on the shoreline holding on to your sailboat by like a small thread or a small little rope. And they're all trying to like pull you back. And I see you taking like a knife and going to the back of the sailboat and cutting yourself loose from the group of people. And then you're able to sail away into the ocean on your own. So when I translate that image, I would say that energetically there was some kind of tie or anchor that maybe you had to a group of people or a community that is no longer serving you. And that you are in November kind of cutting that tie and moving on your own individual journey. So there's a type of like ungrouping going on in November. And I see that related to your knowingness. And so perhaps maybe the way you presented yourself spiritually, or just presented yourself in general, or maybe the way you set the tone in your own life, or just accessed your own spiritual information was based on a group of people and how they do that, how they access information, the way they present themselves spiritually, the way they present themselves in general. looks like that was tied to like a group energy, and it looks like you're kind of breaking free of that in November and really kind of going into an expansion around how you present yourself, you know, really your own authentic way of presenting yourself, outside of a group, outside of a community. You know, how you access your spiritual information, how you set the tone for your own life, rather than how a group energy does it for you. So it looks like you're breaking some ties in November energetically, kind of going through an ungrouping type phase. When I look at the energy of the group, there's something about them that it looks like a lot of gnarly energy. Like they look a little bit rough. You know, the energy in that group looks a bit rough, kind of like a bunch of warriors or something, you know. Not that they're fighting anything, but they're kind of like rough, you know. They just kind of cuss and spit and swear and push people around, and, you know, they're just kind of really direct and not very friendly, you know. So it just looks like there's kind of a group energy that's been rough on you, energetically, and the way you present yourself and the way you've been setting the tone in your life from that group energy. Looks like you're breaking free of that in November. I'm going to go ahead and pull a card to see if there's any other information that you would be in the know about for November. I'm using this deck. It's called something. I forgot. It's called the Threads of Fate. It's a really pretty deck. Alrighty. Oh, so here's a card. Sacred Destruction. Oh my gosh. This one. So yeah, confirmation here. You are definitely cutting ties with like a group energy or a group of people or just a lot of different people. But it looks like you're doing some conscious destruction in November, where you're consciously deciding that you're done and you're moving on and you're leaving something behind. This is coming from, you know, I see the image of an owl in here, and it, you know, it kind of looks like an owl, like these eyes, but I was also seeing the image of an owl, and that tells me that, secretly, maybe you've had some kind of desire of leaving this group, or maybe it's, an owl can also represent just that wisdom that comes through, the wisdom that just tells you you no longer need this. It's no longer serving you. It did its thing in your life, and now it's time for you to move on and transition into another world, another space in your life, on your own. It seems like kind of a growth around your sovereignty, where you're continuing to kind of ungroup from group energies that you were anchored into, and coming into your own wisdom, tapping into your own wisdom, discovering your own wisdom, not necessarily depending on a group for your own wisdom or a community for your own wisdom. I'm going to pull another card for you guys. This came out. All right. So for this Master's deck, this card, Archangel Michael, came out. It's and it says, "You can do it." So this is usually a sign of encouragement, especially if you've been really down on yourself or just feeling like a loser, or having a hard time leaving a group. Kind of more in that space of things being impossible or not working out. This is a card that comes in and says, you can do it. Here's the boost of confidence. Here's the rush of inspiration. Here's the validation that it will work out if you leave, that this ending is going to serve you. You can do it. This is like Archangel Michael, man. He holds the sword of truth. Okay, the sword of truth. The sword of truth cuts through delusion and lies and games and manipulation and control and power, and really helps you stand in your own truth for yourself, which is what really benefits you and everyone else in your life. So, this is kind of the energy coming through to help clarify this sacred destruction. Like, you're not ending this tie because of your, limited self. You're ending this tie because the sword of truth within you, your truth, is coming out and saying, we got to cut this tie. It is, something's not working for you. You're anchored into it. It's not aligned with you anymore. It's not serving you anymore. It's time to move on, kind of thing. So this is kind of an energy coming through and saying, you can do this. This is about your truth. This is not about some limitation that you have where you can't make things work out with this group, or where you did something wrong, or your own limitations are getting in the way. This is your truth rising up and saying, you need to cut ties. You need to move on. There's something more for you, and the only way you're going to discover it is by going on your own kind of sovereign journey. I'm going to pull another card, see if we can get any more information about this month of November, especially cutting ties with a group energy and moving on to your own sovereign journey. This all looks like it's related to your knowingness and an expansion in your knowingness. When I look at it clairvoyantly, like there are just some, okay, there's a couple of cards that just popped out. There are just some, I lost my train of thought, so never mind. Okay, so the two cards that popped out was the King and the Ring. I'm going to start with the King. If you look at this card, the clairvoyant image I got with this card was of like dropping a water drop in a still body of water and watching the ripples kind of expand outwards. And it's interesting because in this card, in the image of this card, there's rays of color expanding outwards from this hand. So I'm definitely noticing like how one small thing can impact everything. And it's interesting because this card has like a little pearl right here on the tip of the hand. It's very small, so it reminds me of something small impacting something really big. And like, again, we've got this energy of the king. A king is very sovereign. He's in authority. He's in command. There's definitely this energy, this archetype of the king coming into your life in November that makes a very big impact, where you just, go into this sovereign, authoritative archetype of just kind of making a decision, cutting a tie, moving on, and watching the big impact that it has on your life. Looks like it's a very positive impact. These colors are like yellow and orange and reds. It's overall just kind of that sunrise kind of energy, this bright energy, so the impact has kind of a positive radiance to it. And then we've got the Ring. And when I see the Ring, I think this has to do with sacred destruction. Because in this clairvoyant image that I see of this card, I see ducks in a row. Like ducks are lining up and swimming behind each other in a row across a lake. And like the metaphor comes to mind, like you need to get your ducks in a row. You need to get yourself together. You need to, getting your ducks in a row is a saying that basically means, you need to get everything together. You know, you got to prepare for something, you know, get your ducks in a row. So it's interesting that I see that in this image. And then we've got the ring, which is kind of about a symbol of like commitment, or eternity, you know? And it's interesting because I feel like there is something that's kept you with this group, like a commitment that you had to this group that is being destroyed. But for some reason, by destroying this commitment to the group, it helps you get your ducks in a row. It helps you bring some things together. It helps create a balance. It helps create order in your life, structure in your life. You're able to like move forward in a way that is ordered or orderly or structured, or where another way of just saying that is things working out for you. So I kind of see these going together. Like there's a commitment with this group. Maybe there was a strong commitment with this group, and that is being destroyed. So yeah, I would say November is a month where you're gaining some freedom. You're kind of going through kind of like a cleanse, you know, releasing the vows, releasing the agreements with this group, and, you know, destroying the attachment to this group, destroying the anchor to this group, destroying the tie to this group, stepping into your authority, stepping into your radiance of your authority, and seeing how one small little thing impacts everything. And of course, this energy of your truth rising, you know, your energy of your truth rising and being a part of this experience of destroying this tie to this group and moving forward. So that is the energy of November. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. It really helps me out a lot. And I hope you have a great November. Take care. Bye.